5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Welcome to Highway of the Hidden, where the forgotten roads of history still breathe, and the night hides more than shadows. Here, the restless dead whisper in the dark, cryptids stalk the tree line, and conspiracies linger just out of sight. Every mile takes us deeper into the unknown, and every story carries a chill. So buckle up and join me as we take a ride down the highway.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to Highway of the Hidden. I'm your host, Polar Bear, and tonight we're heading deep into a place where the cold doesn't just bite, it devours, where the wind speaks in languages older than the trees, and where isolation can twist a man's mind into something unrecognizable. Tonight, we're stepping into one of the coldest mysteries ever recorded, a manhunt across frozen wilderness, so brutal, even seasoned Mounties beg to stop. A story that starts with a quiet stranger building a cabin and ends with a chase that defies logic, nature, and maybe even humanity. This is the story of the mad trapper of Rat River. So buckle up as we take a ride down the highway. So before we get started, I just came back from vacation. That's why there was no episode last week. The Northwest Territories aren't just remote. They feel like another planet. Endless white stretching to the horizon, temperatures dropping to -50, sometimes -60, wolves that watch from the tree line, nights lasting so long the sun feels like a legend told by old men around fires. Rat River was a rugged place, even by northern standards, a land of frozen waterways, trap lines, and small indigenous communities that knew the land intimately. Out there, people didn't just survive the cold, they respected it, fearing it like an old, powerful god. But in the winter of 1931, something disturbed the balance. Word spread of a stranger that no one knew where he came from. No sled team, no partner, no records, no supplies anyone could track. Just a man who appeared like a shadow stepping out of the tree line. He called himself Albert Johnson, but nobody was sure if that was even real. He picked a spot far from everyone else and built himself a small cabin, a weird, almost bunker-like thing. Windows boarded tight, doors reinforced, no smoke rising from the chimney, even in the worst cold. Locals said he would walk to town stiff as a corpse, never speaking, never reacting, just a blank, hollow stare. And then something started happening on the trap lines. Animals disappearing, traps smashed, tracks that led to nowhere. Other trappers whispered that the stranger was sabotaging their lines. But when they tried talking to him, he wouldn't open the door, wouldn't say a word, just stared through the cracks in his walls like a predator studying prey. So finally, with all this stuff going on, the trappers had went to the Royal Canadian Mounted Police. 2 Mounties set out to talk to Johnson. A simple conversation, that's all. In the North, you settle things with words before the winter settles them for you. And guess what? They knocked, no answer. They knocked again, still nothing. One officer leaned close to the door to listen. A bullet ripped through the wood, nearly taking his head off. The second officer dragged him back through the snow as Johnson fired more shots from inside the cabin. This wasn't self-defense. This was rage. Cold, silent rage. The Mounties regrouped. The officer who got shot managed to survive, and word spread fast. Johnson was hostile, dangerous, and armed. But still, nobody understood why. No motive, no robbery, no feud. Just an explosion of violence from a man who had barely spoken a full sentence to anyone. And that's when things got even stranger. In early January, the Mounties returned, this time with reinforcements. The goal wasn't to kill the man. They wanted him out, alive and in cuffs. They surrounded the cabin, called for him to surrender, and again he answered with gunfire. Realizing they had no other option, the Mounties tried something extreme. They gathered sticks of dynamite, lit the fuses, and hurled them at the cabin. The explosion shook the land. Smoke poured into the sky. Snow rained down like ash. When the officers advanced, they expected to find splinters and a corpse. Instead, Johnson's cabin was absolutely destroyed, but the man was gone. He had dug himself a trench under the cabin, waited out the blast, and slipped into the wilderness like a ghost. A manhunt began, one that would turn into legend. Johnson tore across the Arctic wilderness at speeds that didn't make sense. The Mounties that brought dog teams experienced guides, even airplanes, something unheard of at the time. Yet Johnson always stayed ahead. Trackers said his footprints barely sank in the snow, like he was lighter than he should have been. Others reported finding his campfires, but the ashes were cold, as if he moved on just moments before they had arrived. He traveled up cliffs seasoned climbers feared, walked straight through blizzards that made other men crouch down and pray, and despite carrying heavy gear and weapons, he moved like something was pulling him along, or like he didn't feel the cold at all. Even hardened Mounties, men who lived their entire lives in the North, told newspapers no human could travel like that. And privately, some said he never tired. Never left blood, never left waste, never left anything but tracks that kept moving deeper into the white void. What was he running from? What was pushing him to survive like that? Something out there scared him, or something inside did? Who was he really? To this day, nobody knows who Albert Johnson really was, but the theories are wild. Some say he was a military deserter. Maybe he ran from Europe. Maybe he had training that made him tough, fast, silent, but no military records matches him. A criminal on the run? Maybe he escaped some prison. Maybe he thought the Mounties had come to take him back. But again, no matches. A man suffering from psychosis? Isolation can break a brain in half. People snap in the cold, but that doesn't explain his physical abilities. A supernatural possibility? Now, this is Highway of the Hidden, so let's talk about the weird. His behavior fits multiple northern legends. A Wendigo, a man consumed by hunger, cold, and madness until he becomes something inhuman. A skinwalker, a shapeshifter who appears, a skinwalker, a shapeshifter who wears the skin of man, or even a trickster spirit, a being that tests those who wander too far into the wilderness. Locals reported seeing strange lights in the sky during the chase. Some said Johnson's eyes reflected like an animal's. Others swore they heard footsteps outside their cabins long after the chase ended, as if the mad trapper never really died. So, in February 1932, the Mounties finally cornered Johnson near the Eagle River. He had climbed a vertical mountain ridge in the dead of winter, carrying nearly 30 pounds of gear, and made camp like the cold didn't touch him. When the officers approached, Johnson burst from behind cover, firing fast and accurate. He moved with kind of a desperate fury, like a man cornered by fate, not police. The firefight was intense. It took multiple Mounties armed with rifles and shotguns just to bring him down. And when he finally fell into the snow, it wasn't over. Because as they searched his body, the mysteries only grew. No identification, no personal letters, no family photos, no maps, no fingerprints matching any records, perfectly kept teeth, calluses like he had walked thousands of miles, a weird scar on his hip nobody could explain. He simply did not exist, a ghost in human skin. The mad trapper of Rat River has been dead almost a century, and yet the mystery hasn't faded at all. DNA testing revealed he wasn't from Canada, not Scandinavia, not Eastern Europe. His origins unknown. Some researchers believe he was a man with a hidden past. Some believe he was paranoid and violent, and others, well, they think the Mounties killed something they didn't fully understand. Because the truth is, the North is full of things older than any history book. Things that wear the shape of men, things that travel between storms, things that survive in places no human should. When you walk alone in the Arctic wilderness, the wind whispers warnings. It tells you some things out here don't belong to our world, and maybe neither did he. Thanks. So, what do y'all think about that story? I mean, if you got a theory or if you've heard stories about the Mad Trapper that have been passed down in your family, hit me up, man. I want to hear it. If you have a story, anything, like it doesn't even have to be about the Mad Trapper. It can be about anything. I definitely want to hear it. Let me know if you want to be, you know how it goes. Thanks for riding with me tonight on the highway. This is one that sticks with you. I mean, it really, when I started researching this, it really blew me away. The man had no family, no past, no name, no explanation. He was outrunning planes, dogs, and death itself. You know, this man came into our world and was gone. Kind of like that guy that they found in the airport that was talking about a world that they says doesn't exist. Maybe it does exist. Maybe he came over the wall, and in his world, he was running from things beyond the wall. Then he came over here, and, you know, maybe that's why he was so deadly. I don't know. The world is full of mysteries, and I'm here to help you find them. So, that being said, if you want to be on the show, shoot me an email. The email address is polarbear, HOTH@gmail.com. You can find me on TikTok and Instagram, Polar Bear HOTH, or go to the Facebook page, Highway of the Hidden. Until next time, stay safe, stay warm, and keep your eyes on the tree line. You never know who is watching.
And as the road disappears into the mist, the hidden waits for those brave enough to follow. Until next time, keep your eyes on the shadows and remember, every highway has its secrets. This has been Highway of the Hidden.